I'd like to now hand over to Amanda. And Amanda, heading up a large organization's learning efforts. I'm sure that, and the conversation around this also started with you. I was asking, what are the emergent topics this year that are top of mind that people are worried about in the learning community? And Amanda said, I'm just over it. I'm overwhelmed. And I feel like that's a real challenge for the organizational learning that you need to kind of manage across a large organization. What are some of the things that you're seeing in your role, and what are some of the things that are top of mind for you as challenges when designing people's organizational experiences?
I was so lucky starting a new role this year because people just want to tell you everything they want, how they want to start the new year. And I noticed even over the first couple of months how the conversation started to change. And very quickly, I'd hear from a lot of people and a lot of our leaders, we want to get back face to face. I'd hear it all the time, every day. We want to get people back face to face. Now, pre-pandemic, I work in an organisation that even pre-pandemic worked flexibly, very used to working from home, from client sites, as so many people on here, or in the office. So we always had that one. So I kept trying to dig into the why. What is it that you want face to face? And everyone would tell me it was better learning, which is someone who spent years and years in digital learning. I really have to hold my reply to say, is it? Because I think how many times I've sat in a room and paid no attention or drawn doodles, and I just find that fascinating. I think there is that real, but I can see the people. And so as we started to dig in, I think what actually was coming out was just some of what Donna was talking about. People are living on their laptops, and so they're just fatigued, they're tired, and also I've really enjoyed reading some of the chats around, but I really think about the practices that we have in place. So I know that when I'm in a virtual session, sometimes if I haven't turned off all my notifications, there's almost an expectation that you'll reply back to messages, that you'll have a peek at your email. So actually, the environment we created for virtual learning, we didn't really set it up successfully. I think there's a whole point around design and volume and relevance. And did we actually really think about the good design of virtual? And there are tensions around timing and delivery, but when you start to get down to the whys that want people together, they want a break. So to Donna's point, they want that time to breathe. They just want to sit next to someone, have a side conversation. And I found it really illuminating over the past couple of months to really dig into people and see, what are they missing? What are they actually missing? And what they're missing is just some of the connection, the discussion, and we perhaps haven't designed effectively for it. I also heard so much about the volume of things. And so one of the things that I sometimes joke, actually, someone senior said to me the other day, the only learning person I know that says no to so much learning, because I look so much across the organisation, and I was working with a group of people going, okay, they've got this much required training. We also want to develop their business skills here. ESG is really important. We need to develop them as leaders. And let's throw in some resilience and well-being as well, so we can help manage all of these things. And there's some new frameworks and new technology coming out. When you actually get a really clear picture of what you're asking the people to do, it is at times frightening and almost horrifying, because they have a day job and a life around it. And so really starting to look into the governance of what we're asking people to do, and really being clear around, is this helping the business right now, has been really critical to help start to think about that digital overwhelm. Because otherwise, we're all multitasking all day, we're not actually taking anything in, and it's exhausting.
And you've been, I think, particularly in my experience of interacting with you, been a fierce guardian of people's time. It's a really interesting role that I think is an evolution of what the L&D role was, putting content out there, to now being really, really careful and clear about what we're putting out there. And in some cases, some of the key projects I'm involved with at the moment are actually about culling down and actually being really, really purposeful and asking the right questions to make sure that the experiences we put out there are the right shape, size, modality, and they give people those options to be able to exist. And they probably also take into account all the other stuff. And I think that's more and more the role of learning now. And yeah, so I'm interested in some of the stuff that you do to fiercely guard that time.
Yeah, I'm very lucky I'm in a spot where I can help influence some things to say, hey, no, but actually what I really try and do is keep that overlay view across and let people know. So, we're in performance review, pardon me, season at the moment. So been looking a lot and go, okay, is the learning we're targeting around that, enabling people to have better conversations and help people through that? If not the right time right now. We'll always have the resources available, but we can only promote things that are best serving our people. Ruthlessly curating and adding context. I'm a big fan of curating content. It's something done for forever. But get rid of all of the nice to haves or link off and really getting all of that context back in. It sounds terrible. I had a learning session in my calendar last week, and Donna, I went, oh gosh, do I have the time to do this? And I needed to, and I'm glad I did it, and it was great. But I just think, gosh, I talk about learning all day. I love learning, and even I'm feeling this. So how are people reacting when they get an email about this? They have to go to this. Have we really woven the context in? I think about every piece of communication that we do. Do you understand why you're going? What are you going to get out of it? How is it helping you? And if we can't ruthlessly know that and say that and share that, we can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, and it's a lot, and there's a lot of different topics, and there's a lot happening in the business, and a lot happens, not in the control of L&D, as it well should.
Mm-hmm.
The business should be owning and driving. So our piece is really to give as much visibility, focus, and clarity.
Mm. And, it could be so instinctive to go, hey, everyone's overwhelmed. Let's do a new one-day course on, managing yourself through this challenge. And we have to, what would be your tip for someone in your business that came from your health and wellbeing team and said, this is what we need? Like, what would be your process? What would you ask them to verify?
Yeah.
And move through that process of determining what's feasible?
We do a lot around, I hear a lot about, I think our team needs resilience training or time management training, like the good old chestnuts and things. And I agree, Donna, we do not need more resilience training. And it is really the digging into okay, when you say that, like what is it, the behavior you're saying? What do you think is actually happening? And it always digs down to, actually, it's because people are tired, they're overwhelmed, they're really busy. So is resilience training the right thing? No. Is looking at some of our work practices and what's happening a better thing? Yes. Is enabling our managers to have better conversations to help people manage that and giving people tools and things? Absolutely. That's going to have better value. It's half an hour with your leader as they talk through what's happening. Really rethinking. It doesn't have to go on a course. It doesn't have to be training. And that is something I'm really, really clear about, and really clear talking about what do you want it to look like in a month? Like, what's the behavior we need to change? And having those just open and clear conversations in that we're here to support you and help you. We're not going to give you a course, but what we can do is give you some practical ways together of how we're going to get through this. And I think that's the biggest one. All the stuff we know to do, we know how to do, but really holding in that space and talking around why. Like, I use lots of data points and say, do you know, your people have this, this, and this happening. The business is doing this and this. How are we thinking about this? How are you talking about these different things?
And do you think learning teams have got the data questions sorted? Do you think that's something that helps that conversation? Is that something you use a lot?
I think it depends on the quality of the data you can get. So I will always have a data-driven conversation, and I work for a professional services firm, so timesheets are a backbone of how we work. So you use that data, you look at resourcing, you look at what's coming through pipeline. Like leaders, we're so fortunate to have wonderful leaders who own the pipelines of work coming through. They know what is and isn't possible. We know where we're hiring or different things, and we can illustrate the impact. It's a hard talent market at the moment. We all want more and better people. So how we're looking after our people and upskilling them and ensuring they're having a great experience is really critical. And those are the things that lead to us retaining people. It's not just someone offering, more money and different things. So really painting the picture. And a lot of our leaders get it. They're really, really clear. And they all want the, like, how do we best do it? How do we put our, how do we as an organisation transform? And learning has a really critical role in that. And we are one part of that. So I always think we can't work in isolation. I can't solve all the problems through learning and controlling, but how I link in across the business. So we're providing that, then we have a better opportunity.
I think you've hit some really, really important points in there. And I'm seeing a lot more that learning is getting a seat at the table for asking those questions instead of coming to the table with all the answers. And it's part of, I think, the value of even a conversation like this. If you ask those questions, you use that data to drive the discussion and you maintain that practicality and that guarding of people's time and that care really for the people who have to be on the receiving end of what is out there. I feel like you are in the best spot to have that seat at the table and to get those things that you want to have happening. And yeah, I guess do what you can to limit the overwhelm.
Yeah, thanks, Si.